The tension was immediate as the CNN studio lights beamed down on Kaitlan Collins, who sat across from the president of the United Auto Workers. The segment was supposed to be a routine discussion on Trump's tariffs, a chance for Collins to guide the narrative and reaffirm the long-standing alliance between labor unions and the Democratic Party. But within seconds, it was clear this wasn't going to plan. When asked about his union's stance on Trump's economic policies, the UAW president delivered a blunt response: Trump's tariffs protect us. 2,000 Warren workers lost their jobs to Mexico under NAFTA. That can't happen again. The shift in the room was palpable. Collins hesitated for a fraction of a second before pressing forward, trying to regain control. She pointed out that the administration had delayed the tariffs until April, suggesting uncertainty in the policy. The union leader, however, was unfazed. They've had warnings since the election was called. We've paid the price for NAFTA and unfair trade deals for decades. We shouldn't have to pay to fix it. Collins recalibrated, shifting tactics. There are concerns that these tariffs will drive up prices for American families. Isn't that a real risk? The response was immediate. That's a choice they make. Companies don't have to raise prices. That's what they said during our Big Three strike, claimed it'd be the end of the industry. What happened? We got contracts that took care of workers, and those companies are still making billions. His words cut through the usual economic fearmongering that mainstream media had used for years. Collins, realizing she was losing ground, tried another approach. Some might be surprised to hear you praising Trump's trade policies. You've been one of Vice President Harris's most prominent supporters. You even called Trump a scab. That's not exactly a friendly term in your circles. The union leader acknowledged the contradiction but didn't back down. Look, there's a lot we don't agree on, but the election's over. Trump is the president, and we all recognize that trade laws are broken. If we can work together to fix them, that's what we'll do. The working class in this country has been hurting for decades. They don't care about party politics. They care about results. The silence that followed was the kind that makes producers panic. Collins, searching for a crack in his stance, asked, "So you're saying that you trust Trump to deliver those results?" Without hesitation, he responded, "He's already doing more than the last guy." In the CNN control room, the red warning lights might as well have been flashing. The segment wasn't just bad optics, it was a crisis. Frantic messages flew across Slack channels, producers whispered into headsets, and damage control was initiated immediately. But it was too late. The interview had already gone viral. Conservative outlets seized on the moment with headlines like "Labor Leader Praises Trump's Tariffs" and "Biden's Blue-Collar Base Crumbles on Live TV." Democratic strategists panicked, with one senior advisor fuming, "He was supposed to be one of ours." In a late-night strategy call, the mood was grim. "We gave them everything," Biden reportedly muttered. "Union support, political backing, and now they do this?" The realization was setting in. Something had shifted. The Democratic Party had long relied on labor unions as an unshakable part of their coalition, but now that alliance was cracking. CNN quickly aired a follow-up segment the next morning with economic experts warning of the dangers of Trump's tariffs. "Yes, they sound like they protect American jobs," one analyst argued, "but the long-term effects, higher prices, strained trade relationships, and potential job losses, are disastrous." Another panelist added, "The idea that Trump is a working-class hero is absurd." But this time, the messaging wasn't landing. The comment sections under CNN's posts were filled with skepticism. "Didn't you say the same thing in 2018, and yet here we are? So we're mad that American companies aren't outsourcing jobs anymore? Maybe we should actually listen to the workers for once." The problem for the media and the Democratic establishment wasn't just that workers were hearing a different message, it was that they were starting to question the old one. As panic spread among Democrats, one advisor suggested reaching out to UAW leadership to walk back their statements. But before they could act, a breaking news alert hit: UAW stands by comments on Trump's tariffs. American workers need results, not politics. The statement confirmed what many already suspected: this wasn't just about Trump. It was about workers rejecting the political status quo. Inside CNN, desperation set in. The network's next move was to suggest that Trump had pressured the union into supporting his tariffs. But once again, UAW fired back. No one pressured us. We made this call for our workers, period. The White House scrambled to regain control, with Biden making a last-minute appearance at a labor event, insisting, "I've always fought for union workers." The applause was scattered, polite at best. The real energy was elsewhere. With their usual narratives failing, CNN pivoted again, launching an investigative report alleging internal divisions within the UAW. The headline read, "Cracks in the Union. Not everyone is on board with Trump's tariffs." It was an attempt to create doubt, to suggest that support for Trump's policies was fragile. But then, in an unprecedented move, the UAW issued a blunt statement: CNN is lying. There is no division. We stand with American jobs. The response shattered whatever illusion the media had left. They had spent decades controlling the labor narrative, dictating how workers should think and vote. But now, the workers were thinking for themselves. As the backlash continued, Democratic strategists scrambled for a new angle. The latest attempt was to shift blame onto corporations, claiming that greedy CEOs were the real problem, not trade policies. But workers weren't buying it. "Where was this energy when our jobs were being shipped to Mexico?" one UAW member posted. The Democratic Party's last-ditch effort to reframe the conversation had failed. Meanwhile, Biden, in a final attempt to reassure voters, insisted, "I understand the frustrations. I've always fought for union workers." But the response was brutal. A Michigan factory worker went viral for saying, "Biden's been in politics for 50 years. If he was fighting for us, we wouldn't be in this mess." By the time election analysts crunched the numbers, the conclusion was clear. The Democratic Party was hemorrhaging support from the working class. The so-called blue wall of Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin was crumbling. CNN, MSNBC, and every Democratic strategist could spin the story however they wanted, but the reality was simple. The workers had stopped listening. For the first time in decades, they weren't asking for permission to support Trump's policies. They had already made up their minds.